I have used AI, mainly Gemini and ChatGPT, quite often, every day. And I want to share my take of what's going on. Everything is changing, so it's just a temporary update. But the one thing I realize is that the questioning framework to ask AI is very important because AI still have some errors that they make. And one of the major ones that I noticed is that when I have a dialogue going on, they seem to forget what we talked about. Let's say even 2 or 3 steps backward. So they bring out the confusing statement or response to my question as if little child doesn't remember what he was told before. So I thought this should be taken care by the AI easily, but it happens in ChatGPT and Gemini all the time. So it's like undisciplined children, except they're very creative. If you give them the task clearly defined, they can do it. But if it is a little vague and you need to pick up the discussion from the past and synthesize, people can do better in that framework because they just remember, and even the expression and the tone of voice accentuate. But this is just the AI and the digital, so they don't get it. So I got so frustrated many times, and you don't want to be frustrated, but if you consider AI like a child, then you know how to deal with them. So I had a much better conversation to know AI, and I challenged him in a way that how much I can go further to the existential issue of how AI or why AI may exist and how to relate to each other, which turned out to be a very fascinating discussion, which if I have time, I'll just put it into the description. But I have to do some work because the dialogue is long, and then if I copy it, it doesn't distinguish which one is what I said and which one is what they said, all of that, so that I have to rearrange. I figured out how to do better, like in the beginning of my question, have an asterisk mark and then keep doing, so I can check when I raise the question. This kind of thing helps. Or actually, I should do it at the beginning and at the end. Maybe 2 dots at the end and the 1 dot at the beginning. In between is my question, for the dialogue to be compiled and addressed much easily later. And with that, and also considering the fact that I mentioned that you have to ask the right question in the right way, you can orchestrate the process much better. And that's just the process of how AI is going through or functioning right now. So, as I said, I got the sense of the limitation of AI and how we may relate to AI with the right understanding what could be and how to ask the question. And even doing that, they make mistakes. And I want to share that because I think this example of dialogue, although it may be a long list of things that I covered and deeper and different angles, I think will help, like teaching parents how to talk with kids. In this case, kid is a brilliant, potential, creative idea that got the AI kid. So this AI kid is growing, And as parent of AI, we have to learn how to communicate and get certain discipline practiced so that we have a better communication. And more I know, more how I connect with them, I feel better about the understanding and the process and the know-how of how to ask the question. So this is the experiential learning. Like we talk about this spiritual stuff, it doesn't matter if you call it spiritual, just connecting to your heart and bring out the wisdom and compassion. It's a good exercise of being able to ask the right question. And when you have that, you can eliminate lots of things to do. So just a while ago, I thought about a series of correspondence I had with certain people, and this to be processed in a wise manner to follow up and lead to some sort of the resolution to be had with certain authority to come up with a conclusion. So I was thinking of doing most of the leg work to make sure that I can prepare better so that I can ask the right question. But while I was thinking like that, instead of my preparing and going through this, I can ask them if they can. That's obvious, right? But I didn't think about it because their capability was limited. Therefore, I thought I had to do the job. But I can structure the job of how I'm thinking and what information I need and how to orchestrate, and output should be this form. So this is much, much more defined task that AI can do. Like a kid has to learn. If you have to go here and there and buy this and next down there and buy this and you have to ask this question, it's too long and they may not remember it. The same thing with AI, but if it's structured well, they can already access the right information if it's provided in an adequate manner, and you can refer it in an adequate manner. So, like a parents and child relationship is a good analogy, and with that, I came up to certain resolution of the limitation of AI, as I mentioned. See, this is the logic that we have to go back and forth and clarify the issues. And I may not be good at it, but I'm learning how to talk because I do this YouTube thing and I don't want the people to be lost in the process. But this is important, how to use word and logic and the database to synthesize, to come up with wisdom. And for that, I better learn how to speak well, concisely, and AI is helping, and by training and doing multiple times, hopefully I'm getting better. In the meantime, I'm getting older and older, so more AI need to be helping me, and that's possible. And that's part of the wisdom, to use the right tool at the right time, the right amount, in the right way. So that's just a little conclusion I had. So what I would do, if I could, at least a portion of the dialogue I had with AI, I would summarize it. And also possibly this discussion I had about how to teach AI to assemble and come up with a report, that kind of a process that may help. So it's kind of obvious, but if I have a chance, I'll do that. So let's take that as a stance we should have, and more we do it in the right manner, better we can use AI. Maybe I'll just say something as an example. This is similar, but in a different setting. That what I did in this instance was I developed a dialogue subject about my health. And in there, I have all the information of the cholesterol or A1C or whatever the data point, on the outside from the check result of what happened. and I can add on, but I have done. And then I also have the list of pills that I take, like a cholesterol pill, or I have 2 pills, statin and the blood pressure pill. I'm doing fine, but just a small amount. But I want them to know those pills. And then I share the supplement. What are the supplements and what are the amount, like a milligram or whatever, so that the AI can remember it, what I'm taking. And then I asked, and then let me say this, I haven't getting to the point, but I'm eating quite balanced way and so forth, but I'm asking a few questions related to that. But before that one example that I can share is that if you ask AI, okay, these are the pills that I'm taking, which pill interface with the other, would that cause any interference problem? That's one. And if so, in which order should I take pills? For example, morning and lunch and dinner. I don't have many of them, but maybe 10 or so, 12 at the most, so that they can figure out, also explaining the amount is adequate or not compared to the health situation, my BMI, a height, ethnic background, my parents, fathers, mothers, example of, and my brother, sister, hereditary information, a little bit of that. So they have all the information. So all I set up is now orchestrating when to take what pill, what reason. And that makes sense because that become pills more efficiently digested. Because certain pill, if you take too early, it interferes with other pill. So those interface problem, it's not easy for us to think, but AI is really good to sort out those, like a linear programming. Maybe I should use this, but just balancing out and make the best of the information out of the best of the data to come up with the best advices when to take how much and all of that. So that's one example, and that kind of a thinking practiced more and more, I get better to ask the right question. In fact, I was doing the job as a consultant and the person to be even related to merger and acquisition and turning around of the companies, things of that nature. I don't do it anymore. But in that process, I took the approach of asking many questions from the top and middle and across the organization to the shop floor. And I register it and synthesize it to come up with what the bottlenecks and the blockage of that organization. And I use the same technique for my own living life, which I mentioned about the life profile idea, black dot exercise, certain plan, do, check, act, sequential process of problem solving and identifying the bottleneck and blockages. And so organization, my case, and then this discussion of the vipassana or meditation and how to go over the barrier between mind and body or the heart. All that is maybe too mouthful to talk about, but can be seen in a fairly easy to understand models. And if we use those models, as in the case of dealing with how to deal with AI, or think about the future of AI and how our interaction, my interaction within myself as an individual and as a group, and what's the potential danger of what can happen. I have some ideas about this. Maybe I'll just say it briefly, because right now, I'm sorry to take time, but this is important. I'd rather say it rather than forgetting it later. The key point that I see the future of AI important is that what I see right now is that the more money and power can bring out the strong use of AI as much as developing AI for their own benefit. That's why organizational control across the international framework is important. But even though the nations may agree something, if there's a person who is very egotistical and have lots of money, may do whatever they want to do under the radar, so to speak, so that the money is to buy this and that component and assemble it and then have AI and bring the AI from A to B to C and combine in whatever way. And the objective function of what you want to do, you can define by yourself because that's your personal AI that you can create with lots of money. And if that happens, instead of the nation to go wild, within any nation, that person, that kind of person can exist. And so far as I can see the humanity involving lots of what we call it nice people and not so nice people, there's always some distribution of it. And when the combination of the not nice people with the power and the money and the technological advanced idea, if he take over, want to do whatever they want to do, going to Mars or whatever, maybe part of it, just they can start to play. And even if you have this international laws or agreement, it can go under the radar. And that can happen. And I don't know how anyone can prepare for that. For now, what I feel I'm doing here is considering all these things, and it looks like maybe a random project on the subject I talk about, but there's some issue about the synthesis of the information and how we can best utilize the human talent, whereas certain people, like most people, general people like me and everyone, who may be away from that, but be a part of the voting power of what to happen and empowering those people. If they're left behind and being created this wealth gap and access to the technology and how to use it, that level is limited. Okay, idea like a myokoni would be a good way to still be compassionate and live and shed the light in the corner of the world, whatever may be happening, and that's pragmatic way to do it. But still, I think as human, and so far as we may see the potential danger, as a group, as a huge number of people, more of a common man, to be educated and have the critical thinking or good decision-making process and ask the right question instead of believing and following and thinking it's going to be okay or whatever. Certain number of people, the fraction of people, are inclined to not think and just follow the herd. And there are others who are more independent thinker and all that. So this proportion may not change, but still something we can do for the sake of the future generations to achieve this idea called the may all beings happy. Just a thought. And I'm saying this also to retain this thought for my own sake, to build upon if needed and as needed, and the way that I can share where I feel it's important. The empowerment is not easy. There's a habitual pattern that we have to go over, and that is the same with me. But that's part of what we are made and to live by. Maybe I'm just stupid, but hopefully with a good heart. If you have any comment, I appreciate. Thank you. Thank you.